Sorry, I didn't realize I was live. I had it on my screen.
Okay.
But thank you very much for joining us again. So this is Andre. He in his presentation looking at optimizing performance and well-being in esports from a psychological training protocol perspective. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Andre. Thank you very much for being with us, and the floor is all yours.
Okay. Thank you very much. And hello to everyone. I'm very glad to be here. Thank you for this opportunity. I am Andrea Caputo from the University of Turin, the psychology department of the University of Turin. And now I'm sharing the screen to share you the presentation. Very glad to be here. I'm very happy to share with you the results of our study regarding the application of a training protocol, a psychological training protocol in order to optimize performance and well-being in esports. As you can see with the blue symbol, this research has been conducted in a collaboration with the Italian Amateur League, which recalls football mostly, but our sample is also formed by other esports athletes. So, a brief literature review. As all of us know very well, esports players face very intense psychological demands like emotional regulation, performance under pressure, and so on. As regards some theoretical frameworks in esports regarding the optimization of performance, there are several. For example, the esports high performance model by Dr. Poulos, for example, states that there are three layers influencing performance, like training environment, interpersonal dynamic, and also intrapersonal development. Also, another example is the ecological dynamics framework by Dr. Bubna, which states that players have to continuously interact with the environment in order also to acquire skills. And regarding skills, in literature, we can find a number of psychological skills linked to performance, for example, attentional control, emotional control, but also activation, communication, goal, and so on. So we have got a number of psychological dimension linked to performance, but what we tried to do is to give literature a new overarching conceptual framework that is a theoretical and also practical framework in order to give coaches and also psychological consultants in esport an overview of some psychological dimension to try. So this model I'm talking about is the SFERA model. SFERA is an Italian acronym stating sincronia, forza, energia, ritmo, and attivazione, which translated are synchrony, points of strength, energy, rhythm, and activation. The Sfera model has been created by Professor Vercelli, which is our co-author of this study, but also a very well-known psychologist in Italy. The Sfera model has been applied in the psychological training sessions with a lot of Olympic athletes of many sports disciplines, but also in elite professional sport teams. For example, also some football teams in Italy in Serie A. Also, Sfera is related to performance in general, since every kind of performance could be trained. So, for example, Sfera has been applied also in other environments, for example, music. We all can agree that musicians are performers, I'm also a musician, I'm a pianist, so I know very well the anxiety before getting on the stage. So training, also mental training, is very important for this kind of performer. The businessman in every kind of business, and also teaching with, for example, university professors. So what we tried to do also in past research was to transfer the Sfera model into the esports environment. Sfera, as I said, is formed by main psychological dimensions, named in some way that could be also easy to understand for athletes who are not used to know psychological dimensions, for example. So, Synchrony, for example, is related to the alignment between mind and body related to action. Points of strength is related to the activation and before the recognition of some resources, also mainly tactical, technical, and also personal resources. So in the framework of self-efficacy. Energy is related to the emotional regulation and also the expression of the energy in physical intensity. Rhythm is related to maintaining the optimal pacing and also timing, that is using, for example, the right resource in the right time. And finally, activation is related to motivation, that is what drives us in order to do what we do. In this case, esports performance and competition. We also created a tool to investigate these kinds of psychological dimensions and published the paper in 2023 named the Sfera questionnaire. So the Sfera test in esports environment. In this case, our study is mostly focused, is the second step of our research, is focused on the study of a training protocol, a psychological training protocol based on the Sfera model. In this case, Sfera could be related also to the esports environment since, for example, Synchrony is related to the perception-action integration. Strength is related to self-efficacy, as we said, under stress, obviously. Energy with arousal regulation, rhythm with the adaptive timing, and also activation with the motivational ignition while staying under pressure. So, Sfera could provide a trainable psychological model and also in the application in the psychological sessions. So, our hypothesis regarded the fact that we wanted to evaluate the effectiveness of this Sfera training on esports athletes. So, we wanted to test if in the experimental group there could be an improved psychological functioning, namely the Sfera dimensions, an improved perceived performance satisfaction, and also an improved well-being, for example, affectivity and engagement for esports athletes. So, moving to the methodology, our design was quasi-experimental since we got an unbalanced sample of 59 experimental group and 38 participants in the control group, so 97 professional esports players. The professional players was also an issue since in Italy, maybe as regards the law, before there was Georgia, I would say also hi to Georgia from Italy. Maybe as regards the law, professional players are not well established, so it was a bit difficult to underline, identify professional players. So for us, the professional players were those who were under contract with some esports teams, and some others, for example, playing in order to win some competition with monetary prizes. So, as you can see, 97 pro players with different game titles participating in this kind of protocol. I want to show you the design protocol. So, the experimental group participated in the training protocol, formed by one exercise per sphere dimension per day. So a survey on time 0, then 5 days of exercises, then survey time 1, and so on until the time 2. While the control group did nothing of this except completing the surveys, time 0, time 1, and time 2. So without attending the training protocol. As regards the exercise, I want to show you an overview. There were then 2 exercises per dimension, and there was a mix of exercises, a mix of paper and pencil exercises and also practical exercises. For example, as regards Synchrony, there was a slow execution of in-game micro movements in order to facilitate the athletes to regain attention during the performance. As regards strength, there was a SWOT analysis, and lastly, for example, with energy, there was the Jacobson's progressive muscle relaxation, so a mix of exercises, but all within the Sphera model, the theoretical model. Here are the indices about the working of our instrument, the reliability with the Omega of McDonald, but the main topic regards the results. We performed a repeated measure within between interaction ANOVAs, in which our focus was an omnibus test of the interaction between time and group. And as we can see, almost all the dimensions resulted significant. That is, the experimental group was performed better in these dimensions, except for activation and flow. That is, there was a significant difference in time in the development within the experimental group for the Sphera dimension performance, like having expressed the esports athletes' potential, and also the satisfaction with their performance. And finally, there was also a significant difference in the experimental group in having expressed higher positive affectivity, lower negative affectivity, and then higher engagement. What does these results mean? That in practice, these results suggest us that a protocol, a training protocol built with the Sphera model could be a choice in order to train some psychological dimension, namely synchrony, rhythm, and energy. Also, a training protocol could facilitate the athlete awareness about their strength and their personal and technical resources, also built in a strong motivation, but this could be inserted in the intrinsic motivation. Obviously, there were some limitations regarding the design, quasi-experimental, a passive control group. The short duration since the protocol has got 2 to 4 weeks in time. The reliance only on self-reports, like a very recent paper by Dr. Poulos said, there is a need for establishing esports-related measures of psychological dimension, but the very last slide of this presentation states that our results could suggest that Isfera model could be a bridge between traditional sport and also esports environment, since the model has been applied in different contexts, like I told you before, and these results, and together with the results of the previous research, states that this could be a model that coaches and also psychology consultants within the esports environment could use for the psychological training. So with this, I have finished and want to thank you for your attention for this opportunity.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your presentation. It's really insightful in relation to around optimizing performance and well-being in esports. We do have some questions in chat, and I will go through these now.
Yes.
Can we look at you talked about some of the protocols that you highlighted in terms of it. What do you think are some of the insights in terms of the possible long-term effects of your protocols?
Yes, as I said, there was no, we didn't measure the long-term effect since it was very difficult maintaining people engaged in the protocol, since there was also time to go away, from the protocol. So our primary objective was to almost evaluate the effect after the end of the protocol. Obviously, there was the need for example, a follow-up after 6 months, for example, but it was very difficult to maintain engaged participants.
Perfect. There's another question here from Jan Intensity, or Intensity, I'm assuming it's the way he's done it. Thank you for your presentation. He's got one question here. Can you explain again the criteria are to consider esports player professional? I saw that some of them were gold to diamond 2. How is the performance of the player assessed? Through questionnaire only. Do you have objective measures to assess the performance? Thanks, Amelia, with response in relation to it. So you highlighted some of the players being gold to diamond, which wouldn't be classified in most cases as professional, but there were some follow-ups in relation to how did you assess these players in terms of their overall performance?
Yeah, no, we try to target professional players, but as I know, maybe it's little, but professional players in Italy are not so well stated as regards the law. So I try to give some indicators for distinguish people who engage very a lot amount of time in training in esports, so with an higher rank. And also we've got, for example, people who won national tournaments, but also people playing some tournaments maybe not so high or well recognized, and people in sporters with some kind of contracts with teams. So there was very various kind of participants. For the other question, I don't remember.
I think it was around you using a questionnaire as the methodology. Is there any way that
We
you've
used
assessed that data or objective measures to access your performance?
we used only questionnaires and self-report measures, and this is a limitation, I know, because there were not in-game metrics, for example. This is because me and my colleagues are also work and organizational psychologists. I'm also a sports psychologist, but our research mostly are related with self-report measures. In this case, the focus was on the effectiveness of the protocol. So also evaluating the satisfaction about having expressed the potential or having expressed a good performance. Yes, is a subjective measure, but could be also an indicator of the effectiveness of a protocol, maybe only for having esporters known that there is also a training for the mental aspects for them, and not only for traditional sport athletes.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your answers there, Andre. I'm going to let you go now because that's all the questions done. Really insightful presentation. I look forward to reading the full paper when it comes out. And I'm hoping to see this a little bit more in terms of if you've got any questions for Andre, I'm sure he'll answer them in chat in a bit. We're going to go to a short intermission now. And I will be back with you for our talk from our African representative. We haven't had an African representative in the ERN before.